What happens when you combine teen angst, social media, a giant moose, and death? Well, you get the new Netflix limited series Boo, Bitch. It's now available to stream, but should you? Two senior BFFs make a last-ditch attempt to be seen, but when one of them becomes a ghost, she'll need to really live her best life while she can. The story revolves around two high school wallflowers named Erica and Gia. Now, they've managed to get through all of high school without experiencing any of the typical high school tropes. In a throw caution to the wind decision, the two finally decide that they are going to say yes to everything and then go to a party to see what they've been missing. At the end of the night, an accident occurs, and then we spend the rest of the limited series watching them try to figure out how to take care of one's unfinished business. The start of this is pretty rough, with a look and feel that wasn't impressing me at first. Now, the aesthetics and production felt like it improved over the course of the series, but that could also just be me getting used to it and then going with the presentation. There are 8 episodes, and they're fairly short, with most of them being around 30 minutes long, but then there are a couple that are even shorter, making this easy to binge and fly through. Some of the comedy within this works, especially as the two friends try to figure out their new scenario. Now, because one is a ghost, it can present some unique issues, but because there's unfinished business, we can see both and that they can then interact with the world. There are some awkwardly funny moments, with most coming from situations that are meant to be either uncomfortable or cringeworthy. And not all of these land, but some do, and I ended up having more fun with the series than I thought I would when it first started. The message within the show is predictable, and it's not really new. I mean, we watch the arcs of characters, especially with Erica, as she finds her voice and begins to be noticed at school. And because some of the supporting characters are just stereotypical players, then a lot of the conflict that arises becomes obvious. We can also see that there will be a growth arc that needs to happen, but first, we have to have some crash and burn moments for Erica so that she can learn the lessons. And in these moments, they get pretty mean and dark, especially in the last couple of episodes. Hurtful words are shouted, which then took the show in a very different direction from the lighthearted and quirky atmosphere that it started off with. I didn't mind the shift in tone, but it was rather extreme. Now, I don't think it needed to go as Mean Girls as it did, but at least with that, we can have the opportunity for some redemptive arcs. Now, most of the production is well executed, with some quick editing to make the sequences transition quickly and then provide an energetic feel. But there are some less than awesome special effects, especially in the final episode. And then in, I think it was episode 6 or maybe 7, there's this brief moment where some dialogue is very obviously redubbed. Erica and Gia are talking in this bathroom where there's a noticeable amount of natural reverb, but there are 2 portions of the speaking parts that sound distinctly different, and they're just lacking all natural reverb. Now, these may not have been as noticeable if they were standalone lines of dialogue, but these are right in the middle of a thought, so it becomes very obvious and just felt like a huge mistake. Now, luckily, that was the only time that I noticed any wonky audio like that. There are also some storylines that feel unnecessary in moving the narrative forward. Now, one at first felt completely out of left field, involving a character named Devin, but later on, it did begin to serve a purpose. And I think this show realistically could have had an entire episode cut out to help move the story along more efficiently, because there are just multiple times in the story that feel repetitive, especially involving conversations between Gia and Erica. When they have one interaction or conversation, I mean, it's great because it's establishing motivations or building out the narrative. But then when very similar conversations are carried out again and again, they just become tired. Now, Erica's family is cringeworthy and occasionally funny. Her dad is just trying way too hard to be cool. Her brother is really odd and pretty much an unnecessary addition to the story. And then her mom is level-headed, but at times trying to be cool just like the dad. I mean, these are meant to come off as humorous renditions of goofy parenting, but more often than not, the characters just didn't work. There is a portion of the story also that believes it's very clever, but I don't think it actually is. What is meant to be obscured within the storyline, I felt was obvious right from the very beginning. I'm not sure it actually ruins anything, but it does take away from a supposed gut punch later on. Now, this feels like it's targeted towards late teens and maybe people in their early 20s, but as a 40-something, I did get a kick out of a lot of it. And I love that the episodes are short, and also that this is a limited series. There is a resolution to everything that plays out, and it feels natural and earned, even if it is completely predictable. So overall, Boo Bitch is good as a casual series. The acting is convincing, even when the characters are stereotypical tropes. The story itself is enjoyable as a whole, but there are some segments that are repetitive or unnecessary, leading to the show having a slightly longer feel in some episodes. The overall messages of being seen, not losing yourself to what others want you to be, and friendship, they're overt but effective. And while the show isn't as clever as it wants us to believe it is, it's still engaging and entertaining. There's no sex or nudity, a ton of profanity, and some violence. I give Boo Bitch 3.5 out of 5 couches. So what are you binging right now? Let me know what you're watching in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.